9 inches. Well, he should put his blade down. Look, it's getting thick. That's not, look at that. Now why didn't he put his blade down? Look, this is thick. Nah, this is... Darn it, look. Now I'm sinking down in the snow. This is how you get stuck. He needed to keep his blade down. Obviously, he lifted the blade at some point, coming around this corner. That plow needs to be down to the ground the whole time, not lifted up when you're coming around a corner. Otero County Road crew, they're the ones who plow. That's where people get stuck. Buddy? Buddy? What the heck is this? They didn't plow this road? Come, buddy. Hi, buddy. Come this way. Well, the highway's clear. They plowed the highway. I can see that down there. This thing's strapped to my head. I don't know how much you can see. I'm surprised they didn't plow this road. They need to plow it. Maybe he did plow it, but again, on this corner, he didn't put his blade down. And he needs to. He needs to put his blade down. Otherwise, people will get stuck, and that's not good enough. He didn't put his blade down like he should. Who plowed this time? Didn't do a good job like the previous plow guy did. January 1st snow. January 1st snow. Plow guy really plowed. I'm always forgetting. I have a neighbor who lives up here year-round, just like I do. Hey, first car I've seen on the road. One car on the highway down there. At any rate, that neighbor lives up that street. That's the plow job is not, I mean, that's not going by my, you know, he has to turn that way, and I'm always forgetting he's up here. Constantly forgetting, because thank God he's quiet, law-abiding. You never know what you're going to get when a new neighbor shows up. Gosh, I remember in El Paso, had a wonderful next door neighbors. They were just marvelous. Husband and wife raising their children. Real nice couple. Teach school. Originally from Juarez. And then they, after many, many years, they decided to move to Old Mesilla, New Mexico, outside of Las Cruces. So they move. And I was sorry to see them go, but you know, I was happy for them to leave El Paso and go to New Mexico. They would continue teaching there. The next people who bought their house, well, now the lady who, the older woman, she's great. She's fine. But she had a daughter in her 30s who was a drug addict. Oh, that girl. The drug addict girl would have these men coming up the side of the house between her house and mine. They'd stay for just a few minutes and leave. I mean, that was my first hint that something was wrong. Was the constant flow of these young guys showing up and just staying a few minutes and leaving. And the neighborhood is not that kind of neighborhood, so to have something like that going on right next door irritated me. Then one day, the police arrive with an ambulance. And of course, I run out because, you know, worried about next door neighbor. She was, now the mother, you know, the adult woman, she was a real nice woman. But she was in her 70s. Well, no, she comes out and she's just looking as disgusted as she could be. And out comes on a gurney this young guy. He looks like he's in his 20s or early 30s, roughly her daughter's age. And her daughter's coming out. And my neighbor, Very nice woman. So for her to look unconcerned, but disgusted. And he's all strapped up. He's not dead or anything. And he's hauled away in an ambulance. And we said our pleasantries to each other. And I said, I'm so sorry. And that's when I learned her daughter's a drug addict. She said, my daughter takes drugs. And this is one of her friends, and he does drugs, and he had too many drugs. I told them they are never to do that in my house. But they did it anyway. And he OD'd. And I called an ambulance. She was really put out, and I don't blame her. Oh, about a year after this, I'm coming home from the hospital. Coming home from the hospital late in the day. Very late, it's dark. And my next door neighbor's front door is wide open. The door's open. The outer and inner doors, both open. Wide, and the lights are on in the house. And right away I knew that wasn't right. And then I hear this banging, really loud banging and crashing noise. Repeated banging and crashing noise. And then I hear on occasion a roaring scream. I'm horrified, and I'm exhausted. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. I'm horrified with this loud screaming, banging noise. All the lights are on the door wide open. Well, for all I know, someone's being robbed or raped. I don't know. I'm swing up, garage door comes open. I rush in. Grab my gun, call 911, rush back out, and I'm going up the side of her house, approaching her front door. I'm going up with my back to the wall of the house, trying not to be seen by whatever criminal is inside. The 911 operator tells me to retreat. I go back to my house next door. I explain to the operator, look, for all I know, someone's being killed in there or raped. And the operator said, the police are en route. They're going to be there in moments. They see you with a gun. They don't know. And the operator said, you have got to go right back to your house and stay on the phone with me, but go back now. The police are on their way. you don't want them seeing you in that house with a gun, because they may think you're the bad person, or you don't know how many people are in there and somebody could harm you as well. Retreat, go back. Well, I didn't want to, but I guess I'm a pretty obedient person. They have more experience in these matters than I do. So I went back. I was on my front porch listening to this screaming roar and this constant banging that was a banging as if somebody was slamming their body into something with all their force. It's late at night. I think I'd gotten home a little after 11, and I was exhausted and emotionally worn out. My mother was in the hospital. At any rate, the police did arrive pretty quickly. And who did they drag out after what seemed like forever? They were in the house what seemed like an eternity. They dragged out, handcuffed, screaming, "You can't arrest me. I can't be arrested. Let go of me. You're hurting me." This woman's 30-something-year-old daughter, drug addict. I felt like walking right up to her and shooting her myself. Of course I didn't. And they hauled her off to wherever in their squad cars. It was the 30-something daughter who was causing all that commotion. Drugs are bad news. Drug addicts are bad news. I never in my life had ever had neighbors like that. Ever. A few days later, I saw my next door neighbor. She's, the nice mother, the lady, and she was traumatized. Her drug addict daughter had asked her for money, and she had told her, "No, I'm not giving you any money." And she said her daughter then came after her with a hammer that she picked up in the house somewhere. And so my neighbor, who's a widow, her husband had died a few years before, a widow in her 70s, and she's running her own business. She's busy. She doesn't need this kind of stress. "Buddy, come. Come, buddy." All right. "Good boy. Having a good time down there?" My neighbor runs to her bedroom and slams the door, and she told me, and slammed it and locked it, and her daughter is banging on her bedroom door and slamming into it with her body. And she was so afraid her daughter was going to get through her bedroom door that she then locked herself into her own closet door and locked it. How many of us have closet doors that lock? I know I never have. That just goes to show how much suffering that poor woman had gone through already. She was hiding in her closet behind a bunch of clothes on the phone with 911. She didn't know that I was outside the house with my gun ready to come in and shoot whoever was attacking. And of course now it makes sense. It made sense to us both that the operator, the operator didn't tell me, well, we know who's in there. Now it makes sense that the operator told me to head back and stuff. The operator knew it wasn't a man in there trying to break in and rape somebody, or kill somebody. But they knew who it was. And she had a record. Obviously, they dealt with her plenty of times before. Come, buddy. Come. This way. That's a terrible plow job along that road. That man lives down that road, clear at the other end. And this is not the way to plow. You don't plow like this. You get that plowed so that the roads are passable. And that guy up there, he's new to living rural. And he's a man in his 50s, I think. And he lives by himself. Come here, buddy. Yeah, look at that. If he had a heart attack or something like men do, I'd like to see EMS be able to make it up and all that. They need to snowplow this thing so that emergency vehicles can come up and down properly. Anyway, that was my new next door neighbors in El Paso. And she was very nice, the mother. But poor thing, to have a daughter like that, causing so many problems. And then I didn't like the fact that there were criminals who now were coming right into our neighborhood, which was not that kind of neighborhood, because of the daughter. And going up the side of the road, my mother was still alive. I was tending to her, but boy, after mother passed away, I should have moved out immediately. I didn't. Should have. And she herself had such bad memories of that night when her daughter attacked her. And she had to lock her drug addict daughter. She had to lock herself into her bedroom and then her closet to keep herself from being killed by her own drug addict daughter. That she couldn't, not too long after that, 6 months, 8 months, a year, she had not only found a house for her daughter to live in, but she found a house for herself to live in the same area, but a different neighborhood. Maybe half a mile away. See, that's ridiculous. That kind of thing, that is so high up, that snow. This would hit the underside of my truck, the underside of anybody else's truck, and get you stuck. When they plow the roads, they're supposed to plow so that you can get in and out. Not do this. That's ridiculous. you put your blade down when you're coming down these hills. Look at that. He just didn't put the plow down for this at all. No, that's not good enough. That's bad. All right, I sold the house and moved out here where I don't have neighbors here all the time, and the neighbors who are up here, you don't have drugs and any of that going on. So when this young fellow, he's in his 50s, moved out here to live year round, I was just hoping, boy, I hope he's not into drugs. I hope he's a law-abiding, clean, sober person. It's a big relief to have neighbors who are normal, because boy, after that bad experience, and test them out, say things to them, see how they'll react. To see, kind of judge how, are they insane? That daughter, in her 30s, I mean, she's a grown woman. About a week after all this happened, and I was getting ready to leave and go visit my mother in the hospital, and she came over to me and she said, I want to apologize to you for what happened a week ago. She didn't tell me what she had done to her mother. Instead, she said, you see, I have mental health problems. And I had a mental health episode, and the police came and they dragged me out, and they weren't careful, because people have to be more understanding of me, because I have mental health problems. And my mental health episode, they should have all been more understanding. At any rate, I'm real sorry that my mom told me what you had done, and I really want you to know not to shoot me if I have a mental health episode again. And I looked at her and I thought, I'm going to slap you to sleep. But I didn't. Instead, I looked at her and I said, you are responsible for your behavior. We live in a society where we are responsible for our behavior. I really don't care if your problem is mental health episode, as you put it, or if you were on drugs or whatever. And she looked at me like she couldn't believe I was talking to her like this. And I said, you make sure nothing like that happens again, because I guarantee you I will react the exact same way. Now I have to leave. Bye. Got my truck and left. Bye-bye from Cloudcroft, New Mexico.